We're getting some reaction to today's Supreme Court decision on wearing face veils in court. A reminder, a woman known as NS wants to wear her niqab when she testifies against two men accused of sexually abusing her as a child. The defendants say they have a right to see her face. Today's split decision sends the case back to a lower court with some guidelines. And like the top court, the issue of veils has also split the Muslim community. For one take on today's decision, we turn to the Canadian branch of the Council of American-Islamic Relations. And joining me here in studio is Faisal Baba. And thank you for making the time, Faisal.
Not a problem. It's great to be here.
I was expecting a decision. This is sort of a non-decision from the Supreme Court saying, okay, we're sending it back down to the lower court.
Well, I think the case presented a lot of difficulties for the court. It took over a year to decide. You've got three separate opinions, which is quite rare, especially where you only had 7 judges writing.
Yep.
So you've got 4, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
But what the court did was that they set general principles for what trial judges should do when they're faced with this situation. And the court decided, I guess, that a rules-based approach wouldn't be the appropriate approach. And the majority decision actually rejected the idea of establishing clear rules and rather left it up to trial judges to apply this framework.
So based on the merit of the case, the individual case, the judge in that case will make a decision.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it can't go back to the Supreme Court, though, right?
Any decision of a judge is potentially appealable all the way up.
Does that open the door to a whole bunch of headache?
Well, the court decides its workload. The Supreme Court doesn't hear anything that it doesn't want to hear.
Right.
And so sometimes the court will establish general framework-type cases that are meant to, I think, resolve issues or at least provide some general guidelines for courts to apply so that you don't have people constantly appealing all the way up.
Anything that concerns you about this Supreme Court decision?
Well, we were looking for a strong declaration of the equality rights of Muslim women who choose to wear the niqab and for an affirmation of the principles of access to justice that would place these women at the center of our public institutions, not force them to the margins. And we think that this decision does affirm those basic principles. It talks about the presumption in favor of accommodating women who wear the niqab. The court is very clear. You're not expected to leave your religious convictions at the courtroom door. And it rejects, the majority rejected, five of the 7 at least, rejected the idea that religion and that manifestations of one's individual religious beliefs have no place in the courtroom. Quite on the contrary. The court system has a duty to accommodate people like NS.
The court also has a duty to provide a fair trial. So it'll be up to a judge to decide in each case whether the accused will be able to get a fair trial without seeing someone's face. How important is it in that essence of a fair trial to see an accuser's face? Like, what do you get from that face as a lawyer?
Well, this is exactly what the court was unable to agree. The judges on the court were unable to agree with each other about that. Even within the 5 who ruled in favor of an accommodationist approach, Justice Abella ruled that you would almost never, there will always be some harm to the right to a fair trial, but some harm isn't enough to force a woman to remove a niqab. And the majority accepted that as well. You've got to show serious harm.
But I'm saying, as a lawyer, what is the harm done in not seeing a face? Like, what can you glean from watching someone's face that could make or break a fair trial?
And the court had said that it had no expert evidence on this question. It had a lot of social science research, much of which, and we had admitted some of this as well in our factum, talking about the limitations of facial demeanor evidence. And the Court of Appeal decision recognized that as well, especially in a pluralistic and multicultural society. We know that sweaty palms and shifty eyes don't tell you much about whether people are telling the truth.
Exactly. Where does it go from here then? What are you going to be paying particular attention to? Because you're watching this very closely. You watched this decision closely.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how trial judges conduct this balancing that the court has invited them to do.
And use the conditions and parameters for making a decision that the Supreme Court has given them?
I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to have to weigh the harm to the woman caused by removing the veil and the harm to the fairness of the trial. And Justice Abella said in her own opinion that she sees almost no case in which the harm to the trial fairness would outweigh the harm to the woman. In other words, she says it will be very rare cases indeed where a woman should be compelled to remove her niqab. The majority, the four other judges who favored accommodation weren't willing to go that far. But, you know, times are changing, and we don't know, we haven't seen a lot of these cases, and we don't know how many more we're going to see. So it's a wait-and-see approach, I think, and trial judges are going to have to apply this test the best as they can.
We'll be watching. Well, the country will be watching because of precedents that will be set. Faisal, I want to thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Faisal Baba from the Council of American-Islamic Relations in Canada joining me in studio.